I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. F*** it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. Welcome into today's Daily Puck Drop here on this Wednesday as we broadcast from the Limbeck Lumber Studios. Contractors, they got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects, largest stock moldings in the Northwest. Old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give Limbeck Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbecklumber.com. Social media platforms. Follow everything and anywhere. Puck Sports on all platforms, except for TikTok. That's Puck_sports. And, of course, you can find everything up at pucksports.com, including signing up for our NFL Survivor Pool, Puck Survivor. A grand prize, $500. Plus, we got other great prizes from John Howie Steak, Flat Stick Pub, also Georgetown Brewery. And also, you can sign up there to become a Puck's Posse member. You support everything we do here on the Daily Puck Drop every single day, starting at 10, and then also bonus shows throughout the week. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk M's. We're going to talk Ryan Divish. Old Crimson Podcast is back. Rob Staton from SeahawksDraftBlog.com is back on this crazy Wednesday. But first, we get to spend a little time with our good friend Jim Moore, the go-to guy. And I mean, the sponsors are growing. So we'll talk to you in 20 minutes from now. Go ahead.
No,
Jim.
come on. I timed this. I timed this before we started here. It should only be a minute and 20 seconds.
This is a good thing. This is people are watching and listening, and they want to support you.
Well, and I appreciate the support. Thanks to the latest sponsor of my Monday, Wednesday, and Friday appearances with Puck, the Angry Beaver in Greenwood, a Seattle favorite for years, now owned by a Coug, Matt Baker. He's turned the Angry Beaver into an official WSU watch party destination with 13 TVs, many beers on tap, and yep, he's even got Old Crimson in cans as well. Check out the Angry Beaver. God, would you shut the hell up? I'm trying to get through this, okay? Check out the Angry Beaver in Greenwood for the best brisket in town and the next Kraken game. Also want to thank another Coug, Brad Brotherton from Brotherton Cadillac Northwest and Shoreline, and Brotherton Buick GMC and Brotherton Cadillac in Renton. Whether you're shopping for a Cadillac, Buick, or GMC, Brotherton will make it a simple, comfortable, and fun experience. They're proud to be fourth-generation Cougs and a fourth-generation family-owned dealership at Brotherton Cadillac and Brotherton Buick GMC. Visit them in Shoreline or Renton or online at brothertonauto.com. And last, certainly not least, a special thanks to my first sponsor. I love Brian Turner, and you will too. He runs a Clean Streak in Oak Harbor, a one-stop shop for all your cleaning needs, from window washing to pressure washing. And Brian's crew will clean your roof and gutters too. Serving Island and Skagit counties and now Snohomish County as well. Call 360-395-5748 for a free estimate or visit acleanstreak.com.
There you go. So big
thanks. A minute and 20 seconds. Come on.
The Angry Beaver, shout to Matt Baker, and then Brotherton Cadillac, and of course Brian Turner, that a Clean Streak, and then getting close to, it's almost Christmas season, so we're getting close to the lights, and we got to start promoting where he puts up the Christmas lights. Yeah, Brian, and I don't want the Christmas lights again. We got a jam show. This is, I think of this, September is nuts because you got football, college, NFL, Mariners. It's all at once, and I was thinking, I get overwhelmed a lot, and I was thinking about these shows here for the next month, and we're getting great content for all of our audience, but I'm thinking, geez, we got so much. Like today, you're on for a little bit, then we'll say goodbye to you. Divish is on, then you come back for the Old Crimson Podcast if it ever uploads, thanks to Paul Sorensen's crappy internet. And then Rob,
I like it when other people have problems.
I know you do. And then Rob Staton's coming on by, his first weekly visit with me. Again, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery.
It's good to be back.
I came up with a name. I'm going to workshop it with you. You tell me if it's terrible. In the Bloody Trenches with Rob Staton.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay. All right. Just throwing it out there.
In the Bloody Trenches.
In the Bloody Trenches.
Yeah. That's good. God, Rob's the best, man.
Well,
he's across the pond and he acts like he's at the VMAC every day. It's amazing.
He's got a great following, and we're happy to have him back. We're happy to talk. But there's a lot going on, and God, we got all our football stuff tomorrow. Football starts tomorrow, Jim. The NFL.
You got the Eagles and the Cowboys. Kind of like the Cowboys is a big dog in that game.
Okay. Oh, and this gives me a reminder. Puck Survivor is up. You need to sign up. Puck Survivor. Go to pucksports.com. Everyone knows how I assume everyone knows how a survivor pool works, but maybe there's someone that doesn't. You go up, you sign up at pucksports.com. It's free. You don't got to put any information in other than just your first and last name and all that. And then all you got to do, you're going to go there. You'll see point spreads. Ignore the point spreads. It's just straight up. You're picking the game straight up. So all you're doing is who's going to win this week. You're picking one game. If you win, you survive. You lose, you're out. Do I need to explain any more about survivor pools, or am I pretty
no,
clear
you can
cut?
only take the team once, though, right?
You can only take the team once. So let me give you an example. For just the one person out there who doesn't know, like someone like my mother, you take the Seahawks against the Niners straight up. The Seahawks win. I survive. I can't use the Seahawks again. If the Seahawks lose, I'm done. I'm out. So grand prize is $500. Plus we have gift cards. Second place is a gift card to John Howie Steak. Third place is a gift card to Georgetown Brewery. Fourth place, a gift card to Flat Stick Pub. So sign up today, Jim. I expect you to sign up.
That sounds great. I will sign up. For a guy who won $4,000 on Tommy Fleetwood, couldn't you make the grand prize $1,000?
I don't think it's quite. I haven't seen the final figure. I thought it was going to be that. I don't think it's that. And then I'm starting to get a little concerned in our golf league is there has been radio silence since this is wrapped up. And that wrapped up 2 weeks ago. And I'm waiting to hear
wait, you haven't heard anything from the commissioner saying, hey, we're going to get to you, Jason. We're just trying to figure out what the amount is.
Nothing. I'm starting to get a little concerned. Has this guy, are they bailed? Are they going to the Bahamas right now with all my monies?
Oh, they'll come through.
Think about this. And this how much September is fun. I mentioned football, baseball. We'll get to the Mariners limping and all that. You know what's happening in 2 weeks from now? Well, 3 weeks. The Ryder Cup.
The Ryder Cup. I don't, as much of a golf fan as I am, I don't really get into the Ryder Cup as much as I would think I would.
Okay.
I went to one of them when it was at Brookline, and it was one of the greatest comebacks the Americans ever had to win that one.
The Justin Leonard running on the green
outside of Boston. Yeah, I think it was like 1998 or 9, something like that.
He's running over everyone's putt lines on the green.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the Ryder Cup, though, I mean, that's always fun. And, it's always an honor for those guys to be there.
I mean, I enjoy it. I love it. I love how, because it's the only time that sport gets like the other ones. Rowdy and just yelling. And
it's okay to yell.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to yell. It's okay to yell at our baseball team.
You really try to have seamless transitions, but they're kind of is unseamless a word?
Meanwhile, the Mariners.
Yes. Meanwhile, Dave, the Seahawks.
They just can't make it easy on us, can they?
God, I thought I had a foolproof betting system with them. Because it seems like whenever things are at their worst, when people are down on them, like, oh, God, they suck. They're not going to make the playoffs. Like, remember that after they lost that game at New York against the Yankees? Yankees had that comeback in the 9th inning, and then they won. It was the no-hitter game that Wu had going into the 8th inning, and you thought, oh, God, they suck. And then they go and they sweep the Tigers in the next 3 games. So I thought last night, okay, they've kind of hit bottom. Everybody's talking about what a crummy team they are on the road. They're going to bounce back. They had Wu on the mound, and then they lose again. How many times I wanted to ask Alex Mayer this in case he's listening. How many times in Mariner history have they hit 3 home runs in 1 inning and lost a game?
Not much, man.
It can't be many times at all.
It's a shameless plug here. On the latest Sports Pit came out yesterday. And by the way, the Sports Pit's going to move to a monthly release every month. The first Tuesday of every month it will come out. You're going to ask me why. Schedules, people are busy. We have lives and all that kind of stuff.
What, are you not paying them enough, or what? They don't want to do it once a week anymore?
I think they're tired of me. were talking about this, and I brought it up to them, and I'll bring it up to you. Like, do you feel that last game, September 28th on a Sunday, is that a must win?
Well, I have thought about that series. It's against the Dodgers, isn't it?
Correct.
So I think Mariner fans need to be Dodger fans right now. I don't know where the Dodgers are. I assume they're ahead in the West, or it's close with the Padres, right?
They are, but not by much.
But you want them to be ahead by 4 games going into that final series.
Yeah, that's a 2.5 game lead right now.
Okay. Well, if they can lead by 4 games going into that final series, they're going to be resting players. And if you need to win 2 or 3 games against the Dodgers, I think it will help if they're resting players.
Yes, it will. I just
like Shohei. Like, imagine that if the Dodgers have it clinched and they can't, beat the Brewers for best record or whatever the situation is to get a better seeding, they'll rest Shohei for those games.
Well, I would hope so. I would hope so. Yeah, it's a tough watch right now, man. They just find new ways to lose and they can't get it together. Their bullpen is shot. Their starters can't pitch anymore. And they just maybe they get in. It feels like they still have a chance and all this, and they control a lot of it. And that road trip that's coming up against the Royals and the Astros is just so it's massive. And I don't think the Rangers are going to catch them. I don't think, even though it's a game and a half back, the Rangers.
They've got 3 stars out of the lineup, and they're closing in on you.
I know, but it can't happen, right? They can't do this to us this year. Not this year. This was supposed to be the year, Jim Moore.
Yeah, but couldn't you argue otherwise? Because they're the Mariners, and this is what they always do. So why should we be surprised by this?
You're 100%.
I was thinking about it, and you've talked about this before. I mean, if we're reincarnated, like when we come back in another life, and actually I hope that will happen, and I want to come back as a dog.
Of course.
And I know that you only live like 12 years, but God, what a great 12 years you get being a dog.
Maple, the super dog's cancer survivors up to 14.
Up to 14 now?
14.
Oh, that's
she's
great.
She can't, walking's a little tough, but she's still doing good. I hope she sends me a sign though, that like something winks at me like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't want to be that dog owner that hangs onto the dog for yourself. You got to do what's right for your dog.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that she's. So I think
rely on your vet. Rely on your vet. If you like your vet, I had a great vet in Issaquah. She was a Coug, Terry Tomczyk, and I just would say to her, what do I do? What if it's your dog? What do I do? Because I'm not thinking clearly. The 2 times that my dogs died. But anyway, but if I come back as a person,
yes,
and I don't know. I like to think that I'd want to come back as a Coug and a Mariner fan, but God, it might be kind of more fun to come back as like an Alabama fan or a Dodger fan.
Just grew up, a Buckeyes fan and a Cubs. I don't know somebody. Yeah, because you and we experience it. We had a text with you, me, and Paul Sorensen, and you're coming back because we have Old Crimson coming up here later in the show. That it wears you out. It just wears you out. And the Mariners team wears you out. And they were, real honest yesterday. I'll talk to Divish about it. Just the comments from Cal Raleigh and Brian Wu and JP Crawford. They're feeling the pressure as this season winds down. They see it. They know what's at stake. They're not idiots. They look at the standings. Whenever we don't pay attention. Yes, they do. They pay attention to all of it because they're human.
Okay. Let's just say that, that they're an above average team, because that's kind of what they are right now. They're not really that good of a team, especially on the road. If you're a better team than the Mariners, you'd fare better on the road than they do.
Right.
And just how about 500 on the road if you expect to win the World Series? But think about Emerald Downs. This is kind of like a claiming race, a $4,000 claimer where you got 3 horses just kind of lugging down the track, and one of them has to hit the finish line. And we've all talked about the Astros not being that good. The Astros they're vulnerable this year. We all know that. So this is the best year ever to finally get over the hump and beat the Astros. And the Rangers are banged up, and maybe they'll get to the line first. But I still like the Mariners to get to the line first. And it's probably going to be a photo.
Hold on,
but
stop. Yeah, interrupt. when you say first, you mean win the division or
Yeah. I bet on them to win the division today. They were plus 210. I put like $20 on it. I still think. Don't you think they're better than the Astros though? And they hold the advantage of the season series with them right now. I forget what it is. I think even if they just win one of the
5-5.
three,
Isn't it 5-5?
No, I think they have a lead on Houston. I think they just need to win one of the three, or maybe two of the three in the final series.
So just say you don't know. Just say you don't know because.
Well, I don't know. Well, you know what I did. How about this?
Yes,
I did know because at one point a couple of weeks ago I looked at that, but I've forgotten.
Okay. No, they're even. It's 5-5.
Is it 5-5?
I was correct.
Okay, I don't. That doesn't sound right to me.
I'm looking at Baseball Reference right now. It's
okay.
W5 L5.
Okay. Are you good with that? I mean, are you good with that? Like let's say the Astros take 2 or 3 and they win the tiebreaker, and yet you're tied at the end of the season. Wouldn't you rather just see a 1-game playoff for that? I mean, you play that long.
I mean, they've changed it all.
Yeah.
So I mean, whatever. I just think again, if they get in, I'm going to be happy because it's more baseball, and we've had a lot of seasons where we haven't had baseball. But boy, there's the other side of me that's going to be real. Like, come on, man, you can't win the division this year. Of all years, they don't have Bregman, they don't have Tucker, Alvarez barely played. Injuries all over the place.
Well, and then you go into it and you like to think we've been talking all along about, well, their pitching is going to get them there. Their lineup is better. The pitching isn't quite what it was last year, though. And then they're going to be all road games in that first round.
It's that I think sometimes people don't realize that because it's different the last time we were in the postseason because there's no more of that 1-game thing anymore. If they're right now are the 6th seed and they would face Houston in the first round, Houston hosts all of the games. Yeah. Like, we don't get any of them.
And what, are you suddenly going to start winning on the road in the postseason?
God, that is the greatest mystery. And this whole thing with Castillo looks like a shot fighter. Wu now has had 2 straight starts where he hasn't looked good. Well, I didn't say he looked good. He
was okay last night.
He just hasn't gone deep into games. It's not the Brian Wu we've had all season long.
I kept thinking about him last night, though, when he came out of the game, thinking like, hey, man, I think I was a better option. Did they bring Ferguson in there? And what are they doing with Ferguson? Why does he keep going out there?
Well, because they don't have any other options. They just don't. Their bullpen is done. It's toast. Yeah. Look at all the guys. Look how many innings, how many appearances Bizzardo has had. Inspire. This is why they needed another arm at the bullpen. So they have to rely on Ferguson. Ferguson's been he's been underwhelming. And a disappointment. He can't get left-handers out.
The kids would say ass is what they say.
He's been mid. He's been mid.
No, he's not even mid.
No, he's
ass.
Mid. All right. So we're gonna hear from Divish coming up in a bit. So you're gonna leave, but you're gonna come back because you're part of the Old Crimson podcast.
Which is shocking that I'm still a part of that because Paul Sorensen, he played the game and he knows so much more than I do. And he was condescending to me, and I really didn't appreciate it. My feelings were hurt, but
takes a lot of shots at you. Takes a lot of shots at Jim Moore.
Well, he's in that camp of the Idaho win was okay. Go Cougs. And I was kind of in the other camp.
Hey, quickly, one more thing. Did you see last night on Tuesday the Framber Valdez, what he did to his catcher?
Yeah, that wasn't cool.
I was thinking about this. For people who don't know, him and this catcher, Salazar, they got crossed up on a pitch that Salazar wanted him to call time because he had, I think, apparently punched in the wrong pitch on the pitch comm. So he was trying to call time, trying to get him to not throw the pitch. He doesn't catch it in time, ends up getting up a grand slam. And then 2 pitches later, because he's so frustrated, he throws the wrong pitch on purpose. It was supposed to be a breaking ball, except he throws a fastball and hits the catcher, his teammate in the chest on purpose. And you can tell right away because he turns his back. Right away. He did it on purpose. What's the equivalent of that in another sport? Can you I'm actually surprised this morning it's not a bigger deal. That would be the equivalent to a left tackle letting a defensive end go by him and blindside the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Or a center intentionally snapping over the quarterback's head. But no, when you're talking about a violent act, like what the thing I liked about it though, well, number one, I've never seen anything like that before.
I've never seen that ever.
And the thing is that it's not going to, if you're intending to hurt your catcher, you're not going to hurt him by hitting him in the chest protector.
Right. That's true. Yeah, good point.
But the part that I really liked about it is that it suggests that there's issues in the Astros clubhouse.
Right. And we like that. We want issues in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
That's what we want. All right.
But still, I think if I were the catcher, I thought he had a good reaction to that because I would have taken my mask off and gone after him. I would have been out at the mound.
He got up and kind of stared at him. And
but I would have gone out to the mound, and at least if I didn't swing, I'd be getting in his face going, hey, man, what was that about?
I mean, they'll whatever the punishment is, they'll keep it internal. But, Jesus, that is just awful. It's the BS punk move by Framber Valdez. What a terrible teammate. Yeah. Awful teammate.
No, that was a horrible look.
Okay. We'll say goodbye. Hopefully the Mariners can get victorious here tonight with George Kirby on the mound. We'll talk to you back there on Friday. Don't forget, sign up. Puck Survivor, pucksports.com.
All right. I'll do it. Okay.
And thank you to all your sponsors. Brotherton Cadillac, Angry Beaver, Clean Streak.
Yeah. Love them all. Greatly appreciate it.
It takes a village.
Yeah, certainly does.
To bring you Jim Moore Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Don't worry, folks. He'll be back with the Old Crimson podcast, which is coming up later. Fingers crossed if Paul Sorensen's internet at some point can work.
Yeah, you might want to go to Rob Staton right now, and then we
might go to Rob Staton a little bit early on the program. Yeah. All right, go-to guy. Okay. We'll see you on Friday. Go Cougs.
Okay, go Cougs, Puck. Thanks for having me.
You got it. There he is. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Jim Moore, the go-to guy. And big thanks to all the sponsors. Brotherton Cadillac. Also to A Clean Streak, Brian Turner. And now to Matt Baker and his crew of the Angry Beaver. Go check him out. It was the Angry Beaver was the hockey bar that was over in Greenwood. Matt's taking it over. And they still show hockey, but they show all the sports, including the Cougs. So go check it out. All right. Every Wednesday, we catch up with Ryan Divish, our MLB Insider Ryan Divish, talking all things Mariners baseball. The full podcast with myself and Divish available for Puck's Posse members. If you want to watch or listen to the full podcast, go sign up today at pucksports.com. Every Wednesday, though, we give you a sneak preview. Divish, it has been a long time since we've had you on the road, and it's been a long time since you've done the show from the bed. And for those who remember, like the original episodes of the Ryan Divish podcast, the Ryan Divish Experience, our MLB Insider, a lot of the podcasts and shows you'd be doing from your hotel bed. Now you've been golf, coaching, now you're back on the road and you're back in the bed.
Yeah, well, I mean, I recall one time I did a podcast with you, and in the background was like all my dirty clothes, and it looked like I had trashed the room like a rock star.
Yeah,
and I think so. And people were making fun of me. So then I was like, well, I'll do it on the bed because then all you can see is the background. And then in this hotel, and actually I now see the outlets for the desk, but the desk is kind of small, and like there was no outlets near it.
It's fine. Kind of, you wanted to do it in the bed. It's okay. I know what I bring out in you, Ryan. I get it.
Yeah. It's just like you bring out the 70s porn star look, me sitting in the bed here, you know, if there was a cheetah pillows or something like that. No.
This is why we're big with the female audience for the Mariners. Ryan Divish, our MLB Insider, of course, of the renowned Seattle Times. His weekly appearance brought to you by the Great Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, serving the community since 1941. Located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District, they've been family-owned and operated for over 40 years, delivering top-notch customer service and a unique 12-lane experience, just like our guy, Ryan Divish. Check him out at chaletbowl.com to book your next reservation and experience the best in local fun. Well, this has not been fun.
Oh my God.
This has not been fun. Since the All-Star break, you had it in your game story for the Seattle Times. If you don't have a subscription, go get yourself a subscription. You can read it online. I know you millennials, seattletimes.com, read it on your phone, or be old school and pick up a hard copy. Get some ink on your fingers.
Yeah, I thought I had a good game story last night. I mean,
I thought you had you have a wonderful game story,
but it had a lot of info in it, a lot of reaction.
You did. It was great. That was great. The quotes were great. All of it. 7-15 on the road since the All-Star break. My God.
And then somebody was like trying to blame me. And as I pointed out to them because I didn't do the previous road trip. Being the slacker that I am and coming back and not wanting to go relive the Wire 2 in Baltimore and then not wanting to go be around a million screaming kids in Williamsport. I didn't do that trip. So I had only done the home games, and I started off doing home games on August 4th, which was, I was at the Sunday game. So I was 6-0 on the first homestand. And then I did the second homestand where they went 6-0 again or something like that. So I was like, and then you count the ones I was at, I was like 12-1. But then we get on the road and all hell's broken loose. So.
Well, you've always been kind of a bad omen once this team goes on the road. Yeah. Everybody knows that. Yeah. What was it like last night? I mean, you got some terrific quotes, from Cal Raleigh, from Brian Wu, from J.P. Crawford after Tuesday's game. I mean, they understand what they're up against. And I think Cal, and I'm paraphrasing what Cal said, so we've been here for the last few years. We don't need to end up like this again.
Yeah. We got to the stadium yesterday, or I got to the stadium yesterday. I use stadium loosely. But I got to the park, and I think it was about 3:30 because Clubhouse opened at 4. And we had heard that Lou was going to be there or ahead of time, Lou Piniella. So we want to get there, hopefully chat with him. And when we get there, about right when I was walking in, I got a text from Alex Mayer who just said, "Hey, heads up, they're going to have a meeting at 4:00 when we were supposed to have Clubhouse opening, so we're going to push it back an hour." I'm like, huh. And, what they say, good teams win games, bad teams have meetings. So, we were wondering, because I think even Shannon had mentioned it to me the night before, it's about meeting time, isn't it, And it's different, too, because Dan isn't Scott Service would always have meetings anyways, just every so often, a check-in with his guys. So, you knew that it had come to a head. I honestly, watching the game the other night, seeing Cal Raleigh's reaction, twice he went out to Luis Castillo to talk to him, try and get him to kind of make some adjustments, just seeing the frustration. You knew that this was kind of coming to a point of critical mass. And then after, you're watching the game, and when they lost, J.P. Crawford's, once, that stadium's so small, you can, after one of the outs where J.P. got out, hit the ball hard and was caught, he was in the dugout, and you could hear him slamming his helmet as hard as he could against the dugout bench, just bam, bam, bam. And then you're seeing some of the reactions, even Cal, when he struck out with bases loaded, had a little bit more of an emotional reaction than normal. And then after the game, that was as angry as I'd seen JP after the game, walking off. Nobody wears a loss harder than him, maybe Cal, but those two, they just take it personally every time they lose. And so then you're like, okay, this one hurt. And then, talk with Dan, and he was clearly flustered and kind of upset. And I think was upset that he wasn't there for the final innings of that loss. Though you wonder, are they communicating with each other? Because the clubhouse is right there. All you have to do is run back. Hey, we're going to do this, this, and this. But yeah, just talking with those guys. And then Brian Wu was outstanding and talked about accountability, talked about everything. And he just said, for the guys in this clubhouse, and especially the guys that have been here for the last few years, this can't happen again or something like that, and sure, okay. And so then we went in there. I told Kramer, we're talking to Cal at least. And then we probably should talk to JP. And we were there and talked to JP, and like his voice and hands were shaking. He was so upset. Like, because there was some, I didn't include some of the expletives that he said before that about describing their play and what he was feeling like, and and then, talk to Cal, and Cal kind of didn't really want to talk a lot about it. He's like, well, I don't have much to say on it, but then, us being us and knowing Cal, we just kind of kept asking, and right or wrong, because we had mentioned that about going through it the last few years, we asked JP and we asked Cal the same thing. Just say, hey, look, you've lived through this. You've lived through these swoons late in the season. And then you get to a point where you guys are just fighting for your lives the last week of the season, and it's not in your hands. You're reliant on other people losing. And they're like, yeah. And they talked openly about it. Like, I think some people are like, oh, they're choking and they're panicking because they brought this up. No, we asked them about it. That's why, they discussed it. And because those guys don't duck questions, right or wrong. Like, we asked them we asked them about what's happened the last few years. And I think it's a fair question, and they answered it. And so people are like, oh, they're choking and they're weak mentally because they're bringing it up. No, they brought it up because we asked. It's so, like, that's a problem. Like, I post these quotes because these guys are being frank and honest about what they're doing, and then and then all the Sigmund Freuds on Twitter are out there, analyzing it. Like, well, I read it this way and I read it that way, and I'm like, oh, well, you're going to read it however you want because you're emotional in the moment and you're a fan and you already have an opinion. I mean, like, that's what we do in this society anyways, is everybody reads into it what they want. There's no just basic, like, I'm going to read it for what it is and then try and comprehend. It's react first, it's shoot first and then aim later. So, and that's fine. That they're fans, and this has been upsetting baseball to watch. But, like, anybody who says that these guys don't care, like, that was a pretty frustrated clubhouse last night, going in there. And like, it's I respect the honesty in their assessment of what they're saying. And I think logically, if you're a player, acknowledging what is at stake doesn't make you weak or doesn't make you mental, like, that you're afraid of it. I think, if anything, ignoring it would be the worst thing. It's kind of like, you remember a few years ago when Marco Gonzalez and Mitch Haniger would say, is like, no, these people, I'm tired of saying just get better every day is the goal. No, our goal is to make the playoffs. No, our goal should be to win the World Series. I'm not afraid to say it. We can't be afraid to say what we want as if it's not going to happen. So, and I think those guys are taking a page out of that. They're just being honest in their assessment.
Yeah, I think that. I think it's a very human nature quality of how they reacted yesterday. I think to bottle it up and not to let it spill out. I mean, God, they're human. They're not robots. They feel the pressure. They understand. They don't need, and this is not a slight at you guys, they don't need you guys to bring it up. Hey, and the pressure and all that. They understand where they're at. They get it. They understand all of it and where they've been the last few years and how good that they can potentially be because they're not playing up right now to their capability and they're worn out. I mean, that starting staff just has not been there all year. It's not consistent, not like it's been the last few years. And the bullpen is just toast. Well, it's just toast right now.
You're scared. Like, what's concerning is that Wu has been your most consistent guy. In his last two outings, he went 5 2/3 in 5 innings. And, the command, and it was like the velocity wasn't really down, but the command wasn't there. And a lot of times when the command, everybody always just thinks if they're tired, the velo's down. No, honestly, it's the command. It's like, if you're fatigued, being able to repeat your delivery consistently, so to consistently drive the baseball where you want to go. And like Cal said, that it looked like Wu was pitching uphill. He wasn't getting downhill as much as he normally does, which is a sign of fatigue because you're trying to get down the mound, use your legs, use your body, use your core. Well, when fatigue happens, I think that's a problem with Castillo. Like, I just think that they've ran pretty hard, and it's not just the effects of this season, but the effects of last season for these guys as well. So, I mean, like, it's funny we were talking about it, but who has swung the bat pretty well on this trip? Jorge Polanco, who has had more time to rest because of, the minor injuries and he gets off days and everything else. Cal looks tired. JP looks tired. Naylor is, banged up. He has that shoulder issue and he's beat up, and they're all playing every day. I mean, like the other night when Hancock gave up the 3 runs and it got to 8-0 or whatever it was, there is no reason Cal Raleigh should have been playing in that game the last 4 innings of that game. Get him out, get him in the cold tub, get him rest, get him treatment. But they played him. JP played as well. They didn't bring Rivas in until the 9th to pinch hit. Put him in there. What do you have him for? Rosters expand. Like, steal some innings, because and I get it too. Like, nobody cares that they're tired. And that's what Cal said the other day. He's like, nobody cares if you're tired.
But what's the signal if you do that? Because then they get hammered for, did you wave the white flag?
Yeah, and they're not really, but I mean, at 8-0, it's not waving the white flag. That's the reality of the situation.
Right.
What
inning was it again? What inning was that?
It was like the 6th, 5th or 6th. Because Castillo only went 4, right?
Right.
And then they brought in, I don't remember, they brought in Vargas and they brought in Hancock. So then when Hancock gave up the 3, after JP made the air, a couple of runs, it's like, hey, it's time to get him out.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And they were so. The one thing is like they were so paranoid about pulling guys when you had the 2 catchers starting because you didn't have a 3rd catcher. Well, now you had a 3rd catcher and you wouldn't put him in. And it wasn't like he was catching a guy he didn't know. He was catching Saucedo, who spent most of the time in AAA all season anyway. So if you have Harry Ford there, you got to use him. I know, like, it's an emergency blanket or it's an emergency situation, but do it. I mean, if you got him up there, you got to be able to play him.
Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times, our MLB insider, who joins us every single week. And again, a reminder, if you want to watch or listen to the whole Ryan Divish show, go sign up to become a Puck's Posse member. 30 minutes every single week. Again, best place to go is just pucksports.com to sign up and become a member. Not only you just support all of the daily content we do, plus you get bonus shows as well, like Ryan Divish, KJ Arndt with Mitch, our monthly visit now of the Sports Pit, which is out. It came out yesterday. Reason we went to a monthly thing too, by the way, is schedules. Just schedules, and everyone's San Myers he's got a family. His kids are in high school. He's running around. Stretch is running around. I'm running around. So we said, hey, let's pause and we'll just do it monthly. So I think that's going to be working out great for us moving forward. All right, Rob Staton is going to join us coming up in a few minutes. We'll talk to Rob and get the very latest there on the Seahawks. Rob joining us throughout the football season as he did last year. So we're certainly thrilled to have him back, a brand new sponsor. Big thanks to Georgetown Brewery for getting on board. And Georgetown Brewery, one of our main sponsors here all season long of our NFL coverage. And then after that, the go-to guy will return because we'll play you the Old Crimson podcast with myself, Jim, and Paul Sorensen, former All-American safety there at Washington State, when we yell and scream at each other about the Week 1 game between the Cougs and the Idaho Vandals. And like we said it earlier when Jim was on this, it just gets crazy, man. This month with everything that's going on, the Mariners, Seahawks, Huskies, Cougars, all of it. It's nuts. We've got a lot of programming and a lot of stuff to get you caught up on. A reminder, I should say, also, pucksports.com. With the NFL starting tomorrow, you don't have to make this pick tomorrow, by the way. But Puck Survivor, new Survivor pool game that we have up at pucksports.com. Go sign up today, register, and make a pick for this week. Again, if you are unfamiliar with Survivor, and it may throw some people off when they go there to register because you'll see point spreads, it's just straight up. There are no point spreads for Puck Survivor. And so all you're going to do, it's a pretty common Survivor pool. You're going to pick a team each week. You have to pick a new team each week. If you win, hence you survive. If you lose, you're out. Grand prize, $500 in cold, hard cash. By the way, second place, you get a gift card to John Howie's Steak. Third place, Georgetown Brewery. Fourth place, Flat Stick Pub. All the details, rules, regulation, picks, deadline when you need to make the picks is all up at pucksports.com. And just a reminder, it is straight up. You are not picking against the spread. It is just straight up. So ignore the betting lines. You're just picking who you think is going to win the game. I have no idea what I'm going to pick this week. I gotta think about it. I gotta make my pick before before Monday. That's the deadline too. Monday Night Football, because that's the last game of the week. So if you want to pick the Monday night game, that's the last one to get it in. So they've made the deadline coming up there for September 8th. So get your picks in. All the details, everything, we've shared it up at pucksports.com. Gives me a chance to also talk about our NFL coverage that we have throughout the NFL season. And again, that just gets started this week with Rob Staton stopping on by for today's visit coming up in a few minutes. On Thursdays, of course, Mike Garafolo is back from the NFL Network. Great sponsors, Hartley and Hartley Insurance and Zogs on Fox Island. Big thanks to those guys. We continue our baseball coverage as well. So Brad Adam will be back tomorrow on a Thursday edition. KJ Arntz with Mitch. So we'll talk just all things sports with Mitch. Fridays, someone had asked in our YouTube comment section, is Troy Wins coming back, our handicapper? Yes, Troy Wins is back coming up on Friday. So we'll get our handicapper. Also, new this year, and again, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery and Flat Stick. Bob Condotta of the Seattle Times. We'll spend a few minutes with Bob every Friday, getting his last take on the Seahawks. And then we continue our NFL coverage on Mondays, plus our baseball coverage. Bill Kruger still throughout the baseball season will be here, but Michael Shandugar will be here on Mondays as well to break it all down. Seahawks and Niners coming up there on Sunday. So a lot of stuff throughout the week, and we will have you up to date throughout all of it. We'll see what the Seahawks can do. Hopefully the Mariners, my God, Jesus. I know Jim and I talked about it a little while ago. Boy, they make it hard on you. They just make it hard on you. And it is, it's painful. And Jim and I and Cougar fans out there, I get a lot of angst on Saturdays. And then I just would like my football team, my NFL team, and my pro baseball team. I'd like you to take some of that angst off, but we double dip for that. They are limping toward the end. I don't know if they can catch the Astros. Certainly 23 games ago, 3 games is not a lot, especially when you have a series remaining with them. But boy, they are a tired group, a group of players in such a long season, which is baseball, that desperately need some time off, but they're going to get it. I mean, this is it. They are in the midst of it right now, and they got to get going. And there is no days off. There's no days off for Cal Raleigh. There are no days off for J.P. Crawford. They got to go, and they know that. They know they got to go, and it's going to be a challenge for them. It really is. And whether or not they have enough left in the tank to get it done, I think they do to at least get into the postseason. Not sure they may have enough to overtake Houston. All right, we're going to transition to football. Rob Staton is back with us. SeahawksDraftBlog.com is the website. Our NFL coverage this year, including our coverage with Rob, is all brought to you by one of our great sponsors. We get a word from Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
And big thanks to Georgetown Brewery. They bring you Rob Staton every single week. Now, Rob, we're going to workshop this. Jim Moore gave me the thumbs up on this one. In the Bloody Trenches with Rob Staton. Brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodhisattva, Rogers Pilsner, and, of course, Georgetown's Tavern Beer. Tasting room and beer garden open daily, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit georgetownbeer.com. Of course, you can follow Rob there on social media at Rob Staton. Check out his YouTube page as well, at Rob Staton Football there on YouTube, and SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Do we like the title?
Yeah, well, anything that's got trenches involved is down. I'm down with that. And bloody is one of my favorite words to use emphasis over here. So hopefully the Seahawks will be bloody brilliant rather than bloody awful this weekend.
So it's okay to use bloody, because I know we can't use the other one. That you always cringe when I use the other one.
Well, over here, I couldn't use bloody. on the radio.
You can't use bloody on the radio over there.
No, we can't. But I know. So here's a quick throat clearing for you. So we actually had somebody ring our phone in on the radio for the BBC, and they said that their team had been were bloody brilliant, and somebody wrote a written complaint that I hadn't apologized for the use of the word bloody on air immediately, and we had to address that. The following week, someone used a particular C word to describe a player on the opposition team. I did apologize for that. Nobody complained at all. In fact, people still send me that clip years and years later because they found it so funny. So we actually had a complaint for bloody and not for see you next Tuesday.
And you can't say bloke, right?
Oh, you can say bloke. Oh yeah, bloke.
What's the one? Okay, wait a minute. What's the other one you can't say?
Bollocks. There's a W one that I'm not going to say here.
Yeah, there was another one that I use, and you're like, no, I can't say it. You always cringe when I say it, even though I can say it here.
You can't say piss off in England.
Can't say piss off. Do they still use the F word for cigarettes?
Yes. Yes, that's yeah. If it
that's
will be
not out yet, huh?
No, you could say that I'm having a and that would be
and people are like, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they'd completely know what you were talking about. Yeah.
Oh, Rob, well, I'm glad you're back for another year talking Seahawks football. We'll do it every single week. Normally, I think we'll do it around 11 o'clock our time. But thanks for adjusting here on the fly. And I'll just add right away. Thoughts on heading into the season? It's a great opening game. I mean, God, I love getting right out of the gate, start with the 49ers.
Well, it kind of dawned on me yesterday that I've spent the whole summer saying what a great offseason they've had. And it's very easy to say how optimistic you are and how everything's going to be amazing in July. But now they actually play a game this weekend. And if they're not very good, I'm going to look like an absolute idiot. So I have thought about, hang on a minute, what if this doesn't go as well as I've thought it might do? I think it is an important game. For too many years now, the Seahawks have not been good enough at home. And when you're playing a division opponent at home, first week of the season, it's really important that they win this game. If this was in Santa Clara, I think most people could forgive them for saying, okay, if it's a closely fought loss, that can happen. But because it's in Seattle, I really feel like they've got to win here. They've got to win. They've got to show some hints of the identity that they want. And if they can do that, then they'll get going in the right way.
What makes you, Rob, optimistic about them this year?
I think the offensive line is going to be better. I think we saw a glimpse of that. And I know that the Chiefs game, we can't just keep hanging on that one preseason game and thinking, well, it's going to look like that all the time. But it was just exciting to watch the line play that well. And if the line can take a big step forward, then the team will take a big step forward. I think the staff that they brought in have obviously got a lot of experience. I'm optimistic that they're going to be able to fix some of the issues from previous seasons. And I do think that there's a good chance that Sam Darnold, I don't think he's necessarily going to be a 35 touchdown quarterback again this year, but I don't think he's going to need to be. And when you pair that with a defense that finished the year very strongly last year, has brought everybody back and has added a couple of players to it, I think there is cause for optimism here. I think people have forgotten that the Seahawks effectively had the same record as the Rams last season, but the Rams got to go to the playoffs and then play well in the playoffs for a couple of games. So now the Rams are a contender. Well, they had the same number of wins as Seattle. So I think Seattle blew the NFC West last year. They threw away some games they should have won. If they can avoid doing that this year, I think they're going to win the division.
We've been begging for their offensive line to be improved. They have changed everything in terms of more of a run attack there with Ken Walker and obviously Zach Charbonnet. There is certainly, and to your point about the Chiefs game and the Raiders game, you have to acknowledge that it's the preseason, and we've done that on previous shows. There just was a different feel and different look, though, to how they played. That I think makes Seahawks fans excited because it is a throwback to, I think, how football was played. There was a physicality to the way they performed against the Raiders and the Chiefs that I think, it resonates through that entire team, that entire roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's the kind of team we've wanted to see for a long time. It's the kind of team that they say they wanted to be for a long time, and they haven't been it. They've been the opposite of that. They've been finesse. They've been soft. They've not been difficult to play in Seattle. That it goes against everything that we've kind of want the Seahawks to be. So to see a glimpse of that, it is encouraging. But you're quite right to say, like, this has to be a consistent thing. You think back to when the Seahawks played the Colts. When was that? Like 2019, I think it was, or 2020. And they came out in week 1 and blew the Colts away. And everyone's thinking, fantastic, what a performance. Shane Waldron's the next great offensive coordinator. A week later, they lose to the Titans at home. Derrick Henry runs for 700 yards in a game, and they look awful. And all of that magic lasted a week. So I think that's the thing, is they could even play well in this game, go to Pittsburgh in week 2 and look pretty bad. And then, I think we've got to have that perspective there that could easily happen. But we just want to see a tough physical football team again. And I think they've got the players to do that now. And I am optimistic. I also think they're playing a Niners team that I think their decline began last year, and I think it's going to continue this year. So I think there's a lot of chirpy, San Francisco fans and media online this week. So they fully expect to win. So I'll be looking forward to seeing if that doesn't happen.
It's interesting, right? Because I think the majority of and I'm certainly probably Seahawks fans are like this, and maybe a majority of NFL fans are like this there as well. I think that you look at the amount of money that San Francisco gave Brock Purdy, and you're like, you shake your head. You're like, he's not worth that. He's not a franchise quarterback. He doesn't fit that mold because he doesn't look the part, right? And I think that really comes down. He just doesn't look the part. Now, I like Brock Purdy personally. And I remember, and we've probably talked about this before, I go way back when he was a freshman at Iowa State because he played Washington State in a bowl game. And I just remember thinking, that's just a tough son of a bitch. As a tough quarterback, and as a true freshman, he's really good. And I just think, he's not very big, but gets the most out of his talent, most out of his ability. But it will be interesting for them, because when you invest that type of money, it's a lot of money in a salary cap driven league, and you can manipulate it and all that. But it does, for most organizations, kind of hamstring you moving forward. So I'm going to be real curious to see how they navigate that with him.
Yes, I think that is going to be sort of the interesting dynamic, because for years he was the Mr. Irrelevant 7th rounder. What a steal. You can kind of overlook a little bit some of the if he had a bad game, you kind of think, well, yeah, okay. But now he's in the realm of expectation is high. Like, he has to deliver. He has to be a guy who's going to win you football games. And we saw this when Russell Wilson got paid. Russell Wilson quickly went from the missing piece to the puzzle in 2013 and to an extent 2014 to, well, now he has to be the guy. And in Russell's head, I think he felt like he's got to be the guy because he was being paid all of that money. And then the team around him, they had to make savings in other places. And that's inevitably going to be the case with Brock Purdy. Now, he still has a defense that's going to have Nick Bosa on the other side and Fred Warner. He's still going to be throwing to George Kittle. I think Juwan Jennings is a good player. Trent Williams is still there. Christian McCaffrey's still there. So he's not a one-man band. But if he has a game where he throws a couple of interceptions and the Niners lose, people are going to go, this guy's not worth whatever he's on. And that's something that he is going to have to deal with now. I think if you're going to pay the kind of money that he's on, you do have to be a difference maker. And I think this is something the NFL is going to have to sort of work out as it goes along, as the price gets higher and higher and higher for quarterbacks. Do you pay Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, Jordan Love an enormous contract to be a non-elite player? Or do you have to be bold and take a risk and say, maybe I'm going to trade him somewhere else, get what we can, and go and try and find the next one of those guys? Because he's not going to be Burrow, Allen, Lamar, Mahomes. And personally, I think unless you've got one of those guys, it's not worth paying top dollar for a quarterback.
What about there is an interesting dynamic here with the Seahawks, and when you look at their draft class that includes the likes of Abe Lucas and Cross and Ken Walker, none of them have been given contracts. Cross, the one, they did pick up the 5th-year option. There's some talk that they'll work something out. And I guess they're potentially still time to do so. one of the one that everyone gravitates toward is Ken Walker, and what just a big year this is for Walker. Rob, there's no doubting his talent, and you saw it his rookie season. But since he's been banged up, he's missed games. He just hasn't become, I think, the running back, because of the injuries and that missing games that I think a lot of people envisioned. But it's just a monster year for him, and this might be just the perfect system for him to showcase his talents in this run first offense now.
Yes, I think it is a big year for him, and I think unless he picks up the gauntlet that's been thrown down by the coaches, it may be his last year in Seattle. Now, we all accept that he's an immensely talented player. He was in college as well. He pretty much was Michigan State for one season. Without him, they wouldn't have done anything. And he's come to Seattle, and we've seen flashes. We've seen flashes of brilliance from Ken Walker, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He has not been able to be the guy that you really lean on and can sort of go, okay, we want to run this 30 times in a game for whatever reason. He can do that. They seem to think that Zach Charbonnet can do that, and they've talked Charbonnet up all summer. And it's quite easy, I think, sometimes to pass what the Seahawks are thinking here. I think it was always the case with Geno Smith, what they were really thinking. And I think it's becoming the case now what they're really thinking with Ken Walker, that unless he can stay healthy, impactful, lead this rushing attack, there's no good leading it for 2 weeks either. You need to lead it for most of the season. If he can do that, then he possibly will get a new contract. If he doesn't, and Zach Charbonnet is the main man, there won't be a new contract for Ken Walker unless the market's as such that he just ends up coming back on a cheap prove-it deal. I think at that point, maybe he would move on and look at something else. So I think it's a huge year for him. I think the one that I'm most keen to keep an eye on, Puck, is Abe Lucas. Lucas in that game against the Chiefs was outstanding. Mm-hmm. And now he didn't play a full game, obviously. It was just a preseason game. But he looked back to his best. I've always felt that Abe Lucas is a top player. I gave him a fringe first-round grade. He only lasted to the third because of the injury issues, in my opinion. And he looks healthy. If he can stay healthy now, they've got to tie him up, because he has got the potential to be one of the best right tackles in the league. And now that Lane Johnson's about 45 years old, there's an opening there with Penei Sewell to be amongst the top 2 or 3 in the league. Lucas can go and do that. So hopefully he stays healthy, because I think if he does, he may be the one who is knocking on the door for that contract extension.
Hey, are we all, and I agree with all of it, and of course he went to one of the finest schools in America, of course, Washington State University, go Cougs. Are we convinced? There's been a lot of hype, and I'm not dispelling the hype at all. But I'm cautiously optimistic about this defense, because a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is a top 10, top 5 defense in the NFL." There's the difference between potential and reality, right? With it, where do you stand with this defense and where it's at right now on paper, and of course what we've seen in the preseason leading into the year?
Well, I think when you look at last season, when the way it ended, they ended the season as if they had one of the best defenses in the NFL. I think the unit was a top 5-6 unit in the league by the end of the year. Leonard Williams was a legit game wrecker. Like, he was making plays every week, from pick sixes and from nearly his own goal line to sacks and pressures and everything in between. I think having a player like that, if he can pick up where he left off, then that is a thing that a top defense needs. I think you have sort of good, solid starters across the board. You maybe don't have, like the Niners will have had and Seattle had 10 years ago, a loaded blue chip defense, but you do have good players in most of the key positions now. And then you add in DeMarcus Lawrence to see if he's still got a bit of something in the tank. That's his nickname, no pun intended. And then you've got Nick Emenwari coming in, who may take a bit of time, but they obviously think that he can be sort of Hamilton of the Ravens. That's why they traded up for him to bring him in. And Mike McDonald just seemed to have something about him. Tactically, he does seem to have something about him. So whether it can reach the lofty heights of being like a top 3 unit, whether they can be consistently brilliant, which the top defenses can. They bring it week in, week out. Is there going to be a game where the Seahawks give up 30 points to the Rams or whoever, and it's frustrating? That may well still be the case. If they're going to be a top defense, they've got to be really restrictive and then play off that running game that hopefully will come to life. But I do think they have a good chance of being a very good defense. And the other final thing I'll say is, when you look at the Ravens when they were at their best, they had Nnamdi Madubuike rushing inside. I don't think he's noticeably better than Leonard Williams, just younger. They had Clowney and Van Noy off the edge. They had Roquan Smith at linebacker, fair enough. And you had Hamilton as a rookie when McDonald had the number one unit with that. Apart from that, it wasn't a loaded, star-studded defense, and yet they were the best in the NFL. It does remind me a little bit of that. So fingers crossed they can emulate what they did in Baltimore.
Yeah, and they can. And I think there's exciting players all over the field. I think, and you mentioned and touched on all of them. I want to see them show up against good offenses, because I think that skewed a lot of the stats last year. They beat up on bad offenses, but when they faced good offenses, they were taken. They were taken by those teams. It's even the last game of the year, you played the Rams backups, and they give up 20. In that game they give up 25, and the Rams, they're marching down there to win the game against the backups. The Chicago win, you played Chicago. I mean, that was maybe the worst offense in the NFL. But the Minnesota and the Green Bay and the Bills, games like the Detroit early in the season. I mean, again, now it's his first year, so I get it. They weren't going to be perfect. I think there's a lot more positives than negatives, but I'm just wondering if the hype warrants it. But I just want to see it against the better offenses this year, and maybe it happens. Maybe it happens. This Sunday they look gangbusters and they make Brock Purdy look terrible. But you're right. There is an awful lot to like about them, and how fast and how aggressive that they are. I think the Nwosu situation, wherever he's at, worries me. Ernest Jones, I hope he gets through the season. The Tyrese Knight, I guess it's good news. He's back. He was at practice this week, at least doing something, but he's dealing with an injury and then an undisclosed medical reason. I mean, that's a thin unit that certainly can't afford one of those two guys to go down. So let me ask you this. That's kind of my worry with these guys, plus like the wide receiver room still. What is your worry, if any?
Yeah, I think it's the linebacker depth. If we saw it last year, they had a reasonable start on defense, and then once the opponents got harder, the defense was awful, and then they had to move off the two starting linebackers, promote Tyrese Knight, and then go and trade for Ernest Jones, and then it worked out. If you take Ernest Jones off the field, is it going to go back to, oh no, this doesn't work anymore? They don't have any depth there. Like there isn't. So I think that's the main concern for me, because Jones has had a surgery this year. Tyrese Knight's had a very weird sort of training camp.
Very secretive.
Yes, that's what worries me a little bit. Like what's going on here? Like if he just got he has a sore ankle or something, you can kind of go, okay, well if he just rests it, maybe he'll be okay. Or if it was something just minor, a minor tweak or a twinge with a muscle, that's fine. But it was like every week it was like, yeah, we're not going to talk about this. We're going to sort of cloak everything in secrecy, and then you just wonder what's going on there. I think to the point you made is a very good one about they've got to beat somebody good. And the game that sort of springs to mind when you were speaking there is that Commanders game. You're going to play Jaden Daniels. Debo's over there now. They've got Terry McLaurin back in with a new contract. That's the kind of explosive offense. Look what the Commanders did to Detroit in the playoffs last year. They completely dumped Detroit out when everybody was thinking maybe this was Detroit's year. Can you go and restrict Jaden Daniels as much as you can and get a win in that game? Can that be a defensive, strong performance and get a big win? Because I don't know what I'm racking my brain while you were speaking there, Puck. When's the last time the Seahawks won a big game? A truly big game where it's maybe prime time, two big teams, lots on the line here. How's this going to go? I can't really remember the last time Seattle won one of those games.
Well, I'm just looking back through last year. Nothing there. If you go to 23, God, I don't know. I mean, at Detroit, that was was that a big game though? That was the second week of the season. I don't know. I think it's a fair point, and I think too, and I think you touched on this earlier. I think with the way they've changed mentality offensively, and listen, I mean, truth be told, I was willing and I think open. We talked about it to giving. God, I blanked on his name. Who was the offensive coordinator?
Ryan Grubb.
Right, Grubb. I was like, maybe this is a mistake. Not giving him a second year. He needs 1 year under his belt. Let's see what he does in year 2. But you know what? They made the change. You have to give McDonald credit. He didn't like what he saw. It's his team. He needs to make the call. And I think looking back on it, he was kind of forced Grubb on him. This is probably not what he wanted, that style. And maybe Grubb convinced him, no, I'll run the ball. We'll be good. But, that obviously didn't come to fruition. And the offense looks vastly different, again, in the preseason. But it's that style of play coupled with a fast, aggressive defense that will turn in Lumen Field one more time into a hard place to play. Because for the last several years, and again, I'm just echoing what you said earlier, it just hasn't been that. It just hasn't been that. It hasn't drawn the same type of fear from opponents and those coming in here that it once did. And nothing gets a crowd more into a game, a home crowd, than defense. Nothing. You can air it out 60 times a game. That doesn't elicit the same response as a big sack on third down or a turnover.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's just felt fundamentally a little bit broken at home. There's been a whole bunch of things, the style of play, like I say, the defense, not being able to run the ball, too many road fans in the stadium, just feeling like the Seahawks star was waning a little bit, and maybe last year you give them a mulligan because it's a totally new coaching staff, but now I think it's time. If the Seahawks are going to be a serious contender again in the future, that has to be a difficult place to go, and it should be a difficult place to go. I don't think anybody, it's a long trip for everybody. Even the teams on the West Coast, it's not the easiest place to travel to. That should be a thing that's in the players' minds. The weather situation, when you get teams that play in warmer climate, they should not find it easier to come to Seattle than perhaps they have done, as easy as they have done in recent times. And everything they just need to be hard-nosed and tough again. They need teams to come to Seattle in the way that they would go to the Ravens and think, I don't fancy this. But you do need sort of those key characteristics. It does have to be the kind of game where that whatever happens in that contest, the Seahawks opponents are going to be sort of aching all the way back on to where they came from on the plane. And for too long, that's not been the case. They've been run on too easily in the end of the Carroll era. And then last year, once they worked out the defense, they were good. But that was a problem for a period last year. And they didn't run the ball at all. So they've got to get the home form right. I think I think a good season is winning the division. I'm not going to go any further than that. Yeah. If they can win the division, run the football, offensive line protects Darnold, I think you go into next off season thinking, okay, yeah, this is on the right path. And the NFC, it's crazy how, unless Jaden Daniels is just going to be a phenomenon, he's going to be like Lamar in the NFC. There is that all of the good quarterbacks are still in the AFC. Mahomes and Burrow and Allen, Lamar, all the MVP guys are in that conference. So it's open. There's an opportunity there. And the Seahawks haven't been in the NFC Championship games since 2014. So, in the next 2 or 3 years, it'd be nice to go back to that.
Yeah, there's a great opportunity for him. And you're right. Obviously, the AFC is much more lopsided than what the NFC is. You brought him up, and I want to touch on him here before we let you go. Sam Darnold, thoughts and expectations. Crystal ball, look into it, Rob Staton.
I think my expectation is that he's going to end up being Seattle's answer to what Purdy and Jimmy G have been, which is not, and I think that's a modest. I think that's a good way of approaching it, because if he surpasses that, it'll be most pleasing. But if he doesn't, then you've not kind of just given him the lofty praise for no reason. It's hard to project him, isn't it? I mean, there are a few players that have a career like him where he's He's completely flamed out at the Jets. He had that embarrassing quote where he admitted he was seeing ghosts. Most players in his situation would not be in the NFL anymore. He had the foresight to sort of take a step back and go to San Francisco and effectively sit for a year. And the Seahawks are going to benefit from that because he worked with Clint Kubiak then. He had that time in Carolina where he did actually play quite well at the end of the season in Carolina, and they're going to try and play a similar style to Seattle this year. So that was a good thing for him, I think. He's then gone to the Vikings and just had this crazy year where everything's worked until the last 2 games when he looked like the guy at the Jets again. And so you come into this season thinking, who is he? Is he a great reclamation project? Is he Seattle's Baker Mayfield to a certain extent that people think, yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy you're going to commit to for 3, 4, 5 years over the next few seasons. He's going to be the one that you think he can take you to the promised land. Or is he going to be the player who can play quite well but can't quite get it done? Or have you got an offensive coordinator now and a defense that means he doesn't need to be that guy, that he can just, as long as he doesn't turn it over, as long as he's okay on third downs, as long as he's good in the red zone, then everything's going to be okay. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see. I have to say, Puck, I'll be watching through my fingers every time he and Geno Smith are on the field at the same time.
My thing with him is I'm pulling for him so hard. There's so much to like with Sam Darnold. I love the story. I love when guys get knocked down and they come back and they resurrect their career when they have all these expectations on them. I love the way he handles himself and carries himself as a quarterback, his interactions with his teammates and all of that. There's so much to like about Sam Darnold. He checks all the boxes, but there's the one box that I'm just like, I just don't know if he checks, and that's, can he play an elite level consistently? And I don't know that. And if I'm a betting man and I put some pounds on it, I would probably bet against it.
Well, I don't want to be in a situation where the people who decided that they were more effectively Geno Smith fans than Seahawks fans for a period get to have the last laugh. I want the Seahawks to have the last laugh in that, because I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm not a fan of, for me, it's always about the team, not like individual players. And right now, Sam Darnold is the Seahawks quarterback, and I have no interest in sort of looking over to Las Vegas and thinking, oh, look, there's the old quarterback, there's the old head coach,
and I like
the old safety.
And I like what they did, with moving on from Geno. That was the right move, and that's not a comment there on Darnold. It's just more of I just don't know. I don't know, and I hope, and I'm crossing my fingers that he is the guy. So we'll find out, though. Going to find out Sunday. See what the first test is going to be like. Safe travels out to the Pacific Northwest. I'll send you a note if you're around. We'll buy you a pint or 10.
Oh,
but
an old fashioned.
Oh, that's right. You're an old fashioned guy. You might be the only British person I've ever met that likes an old-fashioned. I mean, I like an old-fashioned. I just don't ever think, London, old-fashioned, Brit, old-fashioned. But, hey, you do
the best drink.
It's a great drink.
Yeah.
It's a great drink. Rob, you're the best. I'm glad that you're back for one more year inside the bloody trenches with Rob Staton. It's all brought to you by, I'm going to say it like that every time, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie's Alpha IPA, Rogers Pilsner, of course, Georgetown's Tavern Beer. Tasting room and beer garden open daily, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. And again, follow Rob on social media at Rob Staton. Check out his YouTube page, Rob Staton Football, there as well. It puts up a lot of great content every single week. All right. I'll say it again. Safe travels. Go Seahawks, and we'll talk next week. Thanks, Rob.
See you next week.
There he is, Rob Staton, with us every Thursdays. Normally, we'll be at 11 o'clock. So for your planning purposes, 11 o'clock. In case you missed anything from Rob Staton's appearance, of course, he'll be part of the daily puck drop every single day. In addition, it will be up on YouTube as well. Rob Staton with us every single week. All right. Finally, I think the old Crimson is ready to go. This is going to be a longer show today. And the reason we can say it's a longer show today, and we can blame, and you're probably like, thank God, I've always wanted you to go longer. I mean, really, for me, I turned into a pumpkin right around 11:30. That's for me. I'm just being honest. Pumpkin, I'm out, I'm done. But because Paul Sorensen's internet is so bad, it took us a while to get the Old Crimson up and loaded. It is a lively Old Crimson, and this is something new this year. Last year we didn't do this. We just had this separate up on YouTube and all the podcast platforms, but I will play it during the live daily puck drop every single Wednesday. It's all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. I'm telling you, if you have a large group, if you've got a birthday party, a work event, an anniversary, a celebration, you want to go watch the Cougs, you want to go watch the Seahawks or the Mariners, you're thinking, I've got like 10 people, 15 people. I need a place to go. There is no better place than Flat Stick Pub for large group events, and they are going to take care of you. I have firsthand knowledge. We had one of my daughter's birthdays was at Flat Stick Pub. In fact, it was last year. Incredible. The whole crew over there, they took care of you. It was easy. Provide the food and drinks. Bill was reasonable. It just was such an easy thing to do when you're planning a big party, was to go to Flat Stick Pub, because they just make it simple, and they got games for the kids. Parents can come there. They can drink beer, pizza. Food is great. A lot of great options there at Flat Stick Pub. Big thanks to Andy Large and the whole crew over there. Andy's a huge supporter of the Cougs, huge supporter of Puck Sports, so we're glad that he is back on this year. All right. It's a lively one. There's a lot of yelling and screaming early on, especially between Paul and Jim Moore, about how the Cougs looked in week 1 against the Idaho Vandals. Jimmy Rogers, the decision to go Jackson Potter, fans being displeased with how week 1 went. We covered all in this week's edition of the Old Crimson Podcast, all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. All right, here it is. It's the second week of the Old Crimson Podcast, all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub, Cougar owned and operated. They've got 6 amazing locations across the state of Washington: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They've got you covered for date night, guys night, ladies night, and large group events. Let me tell you, it's the spot to go for large group events. You got a fantasy football draft? You haven't done one yet? Well, you're running out of time. I'm telling you, Flat Stick Pub is the spot for you. Your business, you want to take your workers out, Flat Stick Pub. You just want to get together with your family and friends. Flat Stick Pub is a great spot for large group events. Go visit flatstickpub.com. And it's great for the kids there as well. And it's a great place to celebrate and watch the Cougs. Joining me every week on the Old Crimson Podcast, Paul Sorensen, All-American safety at Washington State. You can follow him on social media, Paul Sorensen 28. And, of course, Jim Moore, legendary Coug. One day will be inducted in the Murrow Hall of Fame as an expert drinker and gambler, and you can follow him at Cougs Go. Well, let's just do that. Let's start off with this, because there's a lot to cover here. I just want opening statements from both of you. Don't go filibuster on me on the reaction of watching that game against Idaho and then the aftermath of the Vandals' of victory. Paul Sorensen, I start with you first, and you can go ahead, Go-To.
I let Go-To go first. I'll defer to the elder statesman of the crew. How's that?
Oh, okay. Hey, man, your hair's getting as white as mine. I have to say that. You might want to try wearing a hat a little more often than you do.
I like showing off my dome, unlike covering up your knotted head there. So go ahead. All
right. Well, I'm having a hard time after that game watching it. I got a call from one of my kids after the first drive saying, "Season's over, Dad." And I kind of got it. I kind of didn't like, well, there's no kind of about it. I didn't like what I saw Saturday night. And I know that there's a lot of Cougs that are going, hey, and Paul's going to be one of them. One game, settle down, don't jump off the cliff. But based on those 60 minutes that we watched, not impressed. I didn't like much of anything. And we talked about how great our defense was that night. Was it really? I mean, I know they held them to 10 points, but 188 yards on the ground for Idaho. I didn't get any of it. And hopefully, Paul, you can get me off the cliff before I jump, because I have a feeling you're going to say, hey, it's just one game, Jimmy Rogers' debut, a bunch of different things like that. And I'm going to try and take it all in and say, yeah, you're right, Paul. Maybe I should just settle down. But I thought it was a horseshit effort by our squad that night.
Well, that's your opinion, and that's fair. And
Well, here we go.
I've been watching Cougar football longer than you, Paul.
Yeah,
50
I know,
years for
and
me,
you don't know
okay?
shit about it,
and that
and
was
it's
one of
okay.
our one of our worst games. That was one of our worst games.
When you look at the flip of the
Okay,
roster,
good. I wanna hear
there's
this.
75 new players on that team, a brand new coaching staff.
How many did Idaho have?
Can I have? Is it my turn? Did I interrupt you once? Sit there and
Yeah,
sip it, Skippy.
sorry, it's
When
usually
talk
you
about-
interrupting.
You talk about jumping off the cliff, I'll push your ass off the cliff, okay? It's my turn now,
Please
pal.
do.
Hey,
Thank you.
220,
So
man. You
here's
better
the
be.
deal.
You still got enough
I'm-
strength?
Hey, I'm 250, so I can launch your ass a long way off that thing. We're gonna have no problem doing that, especially with a running start. So here's the deal. 75 new guys. Now, I completely agree. Now, there was some rumor beforehand that Jackson Potter was going to start. Here's a couple of things. I swore that Zevi was going to start just based on what he did on the Holiday Bowl. Idaho thought that Zevi was going to start too. So they prepared that game plan, and they did a really, really good job of stopping the run, because they didn't think that he was going to be a guy that was going to run the football. So they practiced in the spring, all of fall camp. They had they had a guy named Cole Dennison who used to play at the University of Washington. He was their defensive coordinator. They kind of had an inverted air raid defense where they had 8 guys kind of within 5 to 6 yards of the line of scrimmage to stop the run, because that's what South Dakota State was known for in their offense, was their running offense, their RPO offense, collisioning the guys at the line of scrimmage. As soon as they saw the quarterback, 3-4 yards off the line in the shotgun with the running back off the side, they were shooting the gap. They made Washington State look terrible on the run. They stuffed the run on the defensive side. Porter ends up starting, little different guy at 6'5", some things his first start, threw the ball, had a 72% completion percentage, did a nice job. I think he was 24, 33, 209 with a touchdown, no turnovers, did a nice job through the air. We sucked running the ball, okay? So I can see where you would be grumpy on that, because that was an ugly game to watch. But here's the deal. They got a W. As ugly as you want to say, Leach lost his first game against BYU, and I think they scored a touchdown. That was the vaunted air raid that came in and laid an egg down in Provo. And there were a lot of teams. I think Doba won his first game, and I think Price won their first game. There's a lot of teams that came out and didn't play very well. So I'm going to give credit to Idaho with a scheme that came in and made that rushing attack look very rudimentary from that perspective. 3 weeks from now, no one's going to give a flying F that Washington State barely beat Idaho, who's a top 10 team at the FCS level. Ask Army how they felt when they got beat by a mid-level FCS team in double overtime. All it is, it's not by how much, Jim, it's how many at the end of the season. You don't think if we could have beaten Wyoming or Oregon State or New Mexico, who went right down the field at the end of the game by 3 points, we'd have been happy? A win's a win, period. All the other stuff doesn't matter. It's hard to win, especially when you flip a roster with 75 guys. So, was
Okay,
it
Paul-
ugly?
Paul,
yes,
you done yet?
Absolutely. It was
Oh,
ugly.
okay.
I'm done
There's
now.
just
I'm
one
just
thing I
saying
wanna-
that there was a lot of different things that came into play. Idaho gets credit. They're better than what I thought they were. Washington State is a work in progress. First game of the season, last game of the season. I'm not going to throw them under the bus just yet. Your turn.
Okay, well, I will for that game anyway. I just, and I love the Cougs as much as you do, but we were told all off season about this running game that we were going to have. So Idaho knew about it, we knew about it, everybody knew about it, and so you're supposed to impose your will when you say shit like that, and to not be able to do it against Idaho. I don't care if Idaho game planned for that, Paul.
Who won?
That's what we were
Who won
told
the
that
game?
we were going to do.
Who
We
won
were
the
going to
game?
run the damn
Who won
ball.
The game? Who won the game?
Well, I
That's
know
all that counts.
you and
Who
Ryan
won
Leaf and people
the
like that
game?
are all saying
Period.
that. I know that.
Who won the
I know
game?
we won the game.
That's
but
all that
where
counts.
was that running
That's all that
offense? Where were the
matters.
two
Jimmy
tight
doesn't
ends? Where was
care
the
about
fullback?
stats.
Time out. You guys can listen. We can't do this show if you're just going to talk over each other.
Who won the
Like
game?
honestly, like it's
Well,
awful.
I was talking louder
And hold
because I
on.
was making better points.
No, you
Stop.
weren't. Your
Stop.
points suck.
If people are going to
Your
turn it
article
off
blows.
if you keep talking over each other.
My point's
Let me
simple.
just-
Who won the game?
Hold on.
That's all I care about.
I know, Paul, but listen, now hear me out.
Okay.
Because I agree with both of you, but I think that sometimes I get a little frustrated with fans when they do this. You're just going to bury your head in the sand and say, "Well, we won." So there's nothing to worry about. They got 3 yards against an FCS team.
There's
3.
plenty to worry about. I agree with
let
that.
me-
Yes.
And I'm not now to Jim's point. He's given up on the season already. I've not given up on the season.
Oh, yeah.
You said that in the beginning. You've given up on the
my
season
kid
like your
did.
kid. All right. I'm not giving up on the season, and I still like what Jimmy Rogers is going to do. I would just say this. My opening statement would be, I knew there were going to be growing pains with this team, especially offensively. I didn't think we would see it defensively just because they're more of a defensive-minded coaching staff. I had great concerns, even though I wanted and I was intrigued by this new look offense because of the offensive line we had. I mean, we're returning. The majority of them were on the roster who are playing, and they're an air raid system. Listen, they did well. If you look at all the grades, they did well in pass blocking. They gave them time to throw, but when it came to running, they were out physicaled by Idaho. I mean, it wasn't just blown assignments. It was their guys were getting pushed back.
Yeah.
And I think where it raises the red flag for me is that if you're going to play that style, again, I thought they'd take their lumps, but I thought they'd be maybe around 100 yards rushing. And then it didn't look great. Not 3. And really, it was generous that they got 3. I mean, they didn't have really anything that was positive. And I think that sounded the alarm to me because San Diego State's really good up front. I know Washington didn't look good in the week 1. Ole Miss, I mean, it's an SEC team. I mean, my God.
That's a different
guys
beast.
are 300 pounds and all
Yeah,
that.
that's
So,
a completely different animal.
And I would say this, too, that I was a little taken aback with Jimmy Rogers. A couple other things. One, I thought they were sloppy. Procedural penalties. I thought special teams was a disaster minus the kicker. I mean, a disaster. I mean, I'd like to know who the special teams coach is who would tell their punt returner to go field a punt at the 2-yard line.
They had 2 of them inside the 7. I think they had a 7 and a 2.
And I just think, and I'll say this too. I think, Paul, and you played, we didn't. I think there's a fine line of teaching players aggressiveness, shit talking, getting in people's face, and crossing the line. And I thought the antics after the game, Tucker Large in particular, I understand it, but you barely beat an FCS team. I would go over there across the field. I would shake their hand. I'd go to the locker room. I wouldn't be talking shit to the Idaho Vandals. That's just me. And I think those were my observations. I thought the defense looked good. I thought Jackson Potter looked good. I was surprised as anyone that Jackson Potter was named the starter. Now, I kind of had a feeling about, and that's why we brought it up with you a week before, because I just, knowing, I don't want to give away too much because behind the scenes stuff, but I just had a feeling that once I had heard something that Zevi, I just got a feeling Zevi wasn't going to be the guy. Now, I assumed it was going to be the Duggar kid and not Jackson Potter because he's more mobile, but I thought he looked good. I thought Jackson Potter made some nice plays, and it was a nice
Well, and here's what went into the decision.
I think there were some red flags from the game.
Well, and here's what went into the decision on Potter in fall camp. Basically, they were grading all 4 of those guys. All 4 of those guys had opportunities, to run with the ones. And over the course of spring ball and the summer, basically Potter, he had the best numbers in terms of the long ball. He didn't turn the ball over, the way that some of the other guys did. He was able to run the offense, and he was the best in the 2-minute drill. And when it came down to the end of the game, with the game on the line, even though they pulled him out of there and they put Duggard in there in a couple of series and he went 3 and out, they put Potter back in there and he took him right down the field to get him in a position to kick the field goal, as ugly as that was, from that perspective, to win the football game. And let's give the kicker, Stevens, the transfer from South Dakota State, kudos, because 1, he kicks the first field goal. Give Idaho credit, gamesmanship, call the timeout, make him kick it again. We had a game 2 years ago at Idaho State, same exact thing. Eastern Washington kicker kicks the field goal. The Idaho State coach calls a timeout. Kicker comes back out there, kicks it again. He misses it. They lose the game. Okay, that kid stood right there, did it, won the game. They win 13-10. Ugly, fine. Washington State's 1-0, Idaho's 0-1. Okay, but Potter won the game in fall camp, and Zevi was the first guy when he was named the starter to come up and congratulate him, tell him to hang in there. Complete class act, by him. I thought he was going to start based on his body of work, on the Holiday Bowl thing. They kept the decision quiet. And give them a lot of credit. Nothing leaked out of there. And if I'm not finding out about it, that's pretty impressive. And I give them a lot of kudos on that front for keeping it quiet.
And I know where Jim's going to go with this, and I'm going to steal it from Jim, but I'm going to let Jim respond to it. And another, I guess, mild critique of Jimmy Rogers would be this. And he's not the first, and he won't be the last. I don't understand this gamesmanship before a game. I think it's embarrassing. If you have a starting quarterback, name him the starting quarterback. If you've got a starting tackle or running back, name him. You're playing Idaho, for God's sakes. Why are we doing gamesmanship? I don't care if they were opening up with Ole Miss. Tell Ole Miss, Jackson Potter's our starter. He earned it in camp. We believe in him. Rather than this, I don't know who the guy is going to be. And then he did the interview with Chris King an hour before the game. He didn't even tell Chris King who the starter was. I mean, I think, to me, I think it's amateur to do that stuff. That's just me. And I think, Jim, you would probably agree with that, right?
Well, I do agree with it. I like the idea. If I was ever a coach, I'd say, okay, here are my starters, and you guys know the strengths and weaknesses of these guys based on the tape you have on them or what you're hearing out of camp. And we're going to kick your ass with them, okay? We're not going to worry about what you think about, oh, my God, they're going with Potter instead of Zevi or Duggar or whatever, this is how we're going to line up, and we're going to beat your ass with these guys, okay? So no big deal there. The positive thing I will say is that we were all surprised about Potter. Well, if he was good enough to beat out Zevi, who I think we all agreed that he played well against Syracuse in the Holiday Bowl, so we just assumed that he was going to be the guy. Well, if he played well enough in camp, Potter, to take over and beat out Zevi, then that's a good sign. And Zevi's a third stringer now. Duggar's the second stringer. And to Rogers' credit, at least he got rid of all the oars this week. The depth chart for San Diego State doesn't have any oars, so at least he listened, and he probably even had his wife saying, honey, that was kind of fucking stupid what you did there. So why don't you clean that up a little bit? So he did that. But, I'm still surprised, though. And I think Zevi, to your point, Paul, class act, doing all the right things. But I bet you behind the scenes he's livid and wondering what in the hell he's doing here at Washington State right
livid.
now.
No.
How do you know that, Paul?
Competition. Because I actually know the team, Jim. Okay, I actually understand the team dynamics.
That sounds like you're mocking me. It sounds like you're being condescending there,
Jim. I am mocking you. I actually do some deep diving and talk to people that talk to the things that go on behind the scenes. So yeah, I know the team, and he's a class act, and he understands it. You get beat out, okay? Things happen. People come in and have a better camp. I've experienced that when I got beat out when I went to the pros and I saw the level of competition and I played my ass off, but I wasn't good enough. And I saw what happened on that front, and you do the best that you can when you're there, and then you realize that you're not the guy. And it's okay. It happens, and it is what it is. But he's still a first-class human, and he's still fighting because there's injuries that come into play. There's circumstances where somebody goes down and then you step up, and then you're going to get your opportunity. You never know when that's going to be, and that's one thing about Rogers. He's going to go with a hot hand guy. If Duggar would have been the guy, could have taken him down the field because he would have been able to run the ball, which they couldn't. But had he been able to, he would have replaced Potter. He would have been the guy. They're going to go with the guy with a hot hand. That's what they're going to do. That's how they roll. Period.
Well, I would say this and that was another curious decision. And
yeah, I know.
And I felt desperate, especially it was right after a turnover. They're there, and then you insert him, and it's like he didn't look good. Like he looked uncomfortable back there. And
I know it was a turnover. It led to a turnover.
It was limited. It was a limited amount of, limited series, but it just didn't. I don't know. If you make a decision to go with a guy, go with a guy and then let it roll. And I just don't think at that point Potter was the problem. No, Jackson Potter wasn't the issue. The issue was that offensive line couldn't do anything, couldn't move anyone around. So,
Yeah, but the flip side of that, Puck, is that if Duggar had come in and been gangbusters, then we would have been giving him all kinds of credit. So at least he was trying to change up there, and clearly it didn't work. Yeah. But if it had, we would have been like, God, he should have brought Duggar in earlier.
But it's amazing that you have you're right. Hindsight, it's easy, and we can praise him and then kill him. But it's amazing. Zevi Eckhouse, who we all thought was going to be the starter, and we've all kind of said this. He went Holiday Bowl. I mean, he's prominently featured by the collective and all this. He's not even the backup, the third string quarterback. And I would just say this, Paul. I agree with what you said about he's a class act and he's a great teammate and all that. But I am going to side here with Jim a little bit. Deep down inside, he has got to be, and I don't think he'd ever would express it, but I think deep down inside, he's got to be like, what the F?
Like, there's disappointment. And there's nobody. I love Zevi. I do. I mean, I've got to know him, and there's nobody that feels worse than than me for him, because I fully expected him to be the guy this year. But things happen. It is what it is. How about the dude at Oklahoma that was expecting to start, and all of a sudden some John Mateer guy comes in from the boonies and replaces you? It happens all over the country. Go ahead.
Can we get him back? He only threw for 400 yards.
He beat an FCS team. Whoopie flippin' do. Big deal, and they won. Well, hey, how about Wake Forest, Jake Forest? They won 10-9 in a baseball struggle.
We barely beat a whoopie do FCS team.
Well, so did Wake Forest. They won by 1. Yeah. At least WSU won by 3.
Paul, that's what bothered me the most, and I suppose I'm a half empty, negative Coug, whatever. But I had that feeling Saturday night. Again, I know that you're not going to like what I have to say here, and it's going to be a defeatist comment. But I just felt like the best days of Cougar football are behind us, and that we need to accept this so-called new normal. And it just felt like, God, here we are at a lower level, and I don't know if it's ever going to be the good old days like they were back then.
Well, Jim, I can't argue with what you just said, but we lost 75 guys. We have no conference. We got blown up 2 years ago. We have we've gone through coaches like Charmin Tissue. It is a new normal. And we are starting over. We're developing a brand new conference next year. It's unprecedented in Washington State University history that this program has gone through what it's gone through the last 3 years. Okay? So, yeah. It is unprecedented. It's hard on the fans. It's hard on the coaches and the players. Hell, it's hard on us, old guys. I love hearkening back to USC and Washington when they come in at the end of the season and playing Cal and Stanford and all the other guys. We know who the teams were, and now we're having to try to figure out who are these Fresno State guys and Colorado State guys and Utah State guys. They're going to be conference opponents. So it is the new normal. And it's frustrating because us old dudes remember the old conference, and they're not our old conference guys anymore. So there's a reason to be frustrating. So I can relate to where you're coming from. I don't like it, but what are we going to do about it? Sit here and yell at each other? I guess that's what we're doing. So, I'm gonna tip of the hat. I appreciate where you're coming from, but I'm going to be positive and walk out of this thing. I'm glad we were sucky, but I'm glad we won. And let's focus now on San Diego State and see if we can get another 3-point win, and then just keep winning our way 3-point wise until the end of the season and see what happens. That's what I'm going to do. Just keep 3-point winning, and then just let people talk about how crappy our team is, and all of a sudden you're 10-0.
Well,
Paul, did you sound like this in 2008 when we went 1-11?
No, I was swearing a lot more then, I think. That was not a good team, by the way. I'll also harken back to another game when I don't know if you remember this one. Mark Fields returned a fumble. I think it was 94 yards against Illinois. It was the only touchdown in that game, and they beat Illinois 10-9. Remember that game? Yeah. And remember how bad Chad DeGrenier was the quarterback on that team? I think that was the Posse. I think they won 9 games that year, and that may have been
Chad
one
Davis?
of the most. Chad Davis. That's right. They were one of the most awful offenses.
We would have won the national championship with a good quarterback that year.
Exactly. So there have been teams that have had good defenses, and if they had any kind of offense, can you imagine what that would have been? So,
and I just want to articulate this about Jimmy Rogers. I really, really like him. I like how stoic he is. I like his approach to football. I like the way he conducts everything. There's a lot to like. I'm just saying that I think week 1, it just didn't, he didn't fail because they won. It just was, I was talking to Canzano this week, and we were talking, well, what was the word to describe it? It was just lackluster to me.
It was.
I expected a little bit more, especially up front, a little bit more physicality. I liked what the defense did. I mean, to Jim's point, did they rush for 100 and whatever it was? Yeah, but listen, they kept them out of the end zone, especially on the last turnover to hold them to a field goal. And they did a nice job defensively. I saw a lot of guys flying around, large in particular. And again, I mean,
they missed 8 tackles, Puck. 8 tackles, and most of those were on the edge on the quarterback. Had they been able to do that, he wouldn't have had a 100-yard game. It would have been a different story on the rush, because that was the guy that kept him in the ball game with those scrambles, basically. So
yeah, and then the redshirt freshman quarterback, or the linebacker, he was terrific. So there was a lot to like. And again, I remember the Mike Leach game. I remember how much hype there was. Certainly a lot more hype than this when Mike Leach took over. And I remember when they went down to Provo, and it was awful. But they didn't do it, and you're like, what the hell is this? And obviously that worked out well, and I think that Jimmy Rogers will work out.
But
I'm not
remember,
saying
Puck,
I
they
just
had
think
to
it's a different
transition.
mentality.
Yeah, they had to transition the air raid.
Yes, but I would count. I think it's different. I would counter with this. Yes, they have 75 new players. The majority of them are his players. South Dakota State. They are all majority are his guys.
And
so it's not like they're learning a brand new system.
Right.
So,
and they're transitioning up. They're going from FCS, even though it's Division I, they're going to FBS. Different transition. Now they played an FCS team, but a good one. You got a semifinal team that lost to North Dakota State that won the national championship, last year. You got an Idaho team that made it to the quarterfinals before they got beat by, I think it was South Dakota State, or maybe it was South Dakota. I don't remember who it was. But anyway, good teams. These are teams that they're playing in the postseason. So there you go. Now they're going to get a chance to step up and play a San Diego State team that's trying to, kind of turn themselves around and play better, because they had a stinky season last year under, a first-year coach who's in their second year, went out and got a ton of Power 4 transfers, including a Michigan quarterback. So it's just going to be a good step up for them. And again, transitioning from first game to second game, you see big improvement going from first game to second game. Let's hope, because that offense needs to see some big improvement going from game 1 to game 2.
Jim and I have some advice for you, and I don't know if you've ever dipped your toes into the gambling waters, but if you'd like to make some extra money this year, Jim and I have every game bet the under, and it's 44.5 this weekend.
Back in the old days, we used to bet the over on the Cougs because they were always undersold. So what you're saying this year is bet the under because they're oversold? Is that what you're saying?
No,
we're saying that they're kind of shitty offensively. And they appear to be decent defensively. It's just like with the Mariners when Puck had that last year, talking about bet the under on the M's all summer. Yeah. Good pitching, good defense, no hitting.
Yeah.
So
exactly right. Jim and I are going to make a lot of money. If you'd like to jump on, you can, because we're going to make a lot of money this year.
I'll just go out.
I
have
a bunch of random
game.
points in between the time I was trying to get my wife to quiet my dog down.
I feel more comfortable getting yelled at, from the stands than losing the shekels, knowing that an 18-year-old's got my money in his hands. I don't like that. That scares me.
What we're going to work on next week is one of you talks, and then the other one talks.
Yeah, well.
I talked, and then I got angry. And I apologize to Jim because I respect GoTo. And I do appreciate your opinion. I do, because, the one thing that I like. No, I do. I just don't like it. I just appreciate it. And then I'm going to yell at you because that's what I do. I'm a lasher, and I apologize. I love you, but I will yell at you, and I'm sorry for that. Sorry.
Well, I just want you to know, in future Old Crimson podcasts, I'm going to defer to you because you know more about the team than I do. I mean, you said as much. So, plus you played the game and I didn't. So I'm just going to sit back here
for a long time.
I'm going to sit back here and listen to my dog bark and wonder why my wife isn't stopping our dog from barking. I mean, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? I'm trying to do a podcast here.
I thought you
what
had
the hell? I mean, it's like, is there any common courtesy even with the woman I live with? Jesus, what the hell?
Let me.
I'll just let River bark while Jim's doing this podcast because it doesn't really matter apparently. I don't get that. Okay, can I just make a couple of random points here that I have been sitting on that might not make a whole lot of sense. I'm going to give Potter all kinds of credit, just like you guys have. So that's not breaking news. But here's a kid. Can you imagine Jackson Potter going out there? And we have been watching Cam Ward and John Mateer. And now this kid has to follow those two guys. Cam Ward, the number 1 pick overall. John Mateer is going to play in the NFL, likely too. And we love Mateer and what he did last year. God, he was sensational. And now Potter has to come in under these circumstances in a new system with a new coach. So terrific for him. The negative I want to point out, though, Paul, is that this Idaho team, again, I'll go one more time on this Idaho team. I looked up Thomas Ford's head coaching record, 2-18 at Simon Fraser. And he outcoached our guy, didn't he? He outcoached our guy. So hopefully things change. And, again, you played the game, and so you know what it's like in game 2 versus game 1. And so I'm hoping we see a totally different Cougar. But who are we going to run the ball against? That's what he's selling himself on. That's his calling card. We ran the ball at South Dakota State. We're going to run at Washington State. Well, maybe not. God, your silence. What, Paul? Did I make a good point?
His head is about to explode. He's getting so angry.
Remember I said that I apologize for yelling at you? I'm trying not to yell at you. He's also 0-1 in his debut at Idaho. He lost. They lost the football game. The quarterback threw for 33 yards on 12 completions, okay? And the quarterback was the leading rusher of their team, period. They lost.
If I'm doing an Idaho podcast right now, I'm wondering what in the hell they were doing getting so conservative after they recovered that fumble. They could have taken a 14-10 lead, and I think that would have been insurmountable for us to get a touchdown.
I agree. But give Potter credit because that was one of the things that he won the job on. He was the best quarterback in the 2-minute drill all fall and spring. That was his strength.
Isn't it a little bit more concerning, Paul, that they only threw for 33 yards and were only lost by 3?
No, that just says that they were afraid of our defense and our DBs were good, and we intimidated the hell out of them from the power 4 position that we were at.
Plus, I like that Potter's good in the 2-minute drill. But
he was good.
I was kind of hoping that with this running,
and the only incompletion was when he spiked the ball. So there you go. He was
I'm going to tell you this right now.
That he made,
you're going to see them pass a lot more on Saturday.
Well, look at the field position they had too, Puck. They were really conservative in a couple areas because their field position was god awful. Yeah. And that goes back to bad special teams play, as you pointed out. And the defense played well. Awful. When you rely on your defense, you can be a little bit more conservative. That was a stinker on offense, no question. And you guys have nailed it on that front. Massive improvement needs to be shown this week, or we can start raising the red hanky and start saying, guys, this is not acceptable. So I'm not at that point yet.
Jim,
the point I was trying to make before you interrupted me again, the 2-minute drill stuff with Potter, I love that. Okay, fine. That's what won him the job. But what I was hoping for with the new running game that we were supposed to have is that we'd be running out the clock with 2 minutes to go and getting first downs and moving the chains. That was the whole idea, I think, a part of it.
An unfortunate fumble, though, led to a field goal that allowed them to tie it up, or they would have run the game because they would have gotten another 3 yards and then punted the ball, and then our defense would have stopped them. So that's what we'd have done.
They can always get better on the ground, Jim. Don't be like your kids who've already given up on the season.
Yeah, quit throwing your kids under the bus in your article. Why are you doing that? Don't throw your kids under the bus like that. That was mean.
Oh, my kid?
Yeah, what? You put them in the article and you made them fodder for those poor fans. They're out there yelling at your kids.
He just was beside himself. Season's over, and then he was giving me a hard time for going to Washington State and how, they grew up being Cougs and, why didn't you go to a better school? And I'm like, well, come on, Mikey. Yeah.
Well, Mikey may have had a couple of too many beverages. That sounds like depression to me.
Did he get – now it was weird. Is he allowed back in the stadium or not?
Oh, he's going to be at San Diego State. He'll be there.
Well, you made it seem like he was banned from the stadium.
No, he wasn't banned from the stadium. They
Paul,
left.
Didn't you kind of get that text?
They left at halftime.
Yeah, I thought he got 86.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Your text was like he got banned from the stadium.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
No, he didn't
you
get
wanted me
banned.
to read you the text?
Yeah,
Yes,
go
I think
ahead.
we need to
Go
read
ahead.
that text.
Yeah.
Read that text.
He left the stadium like a lot of other students. And I think unlike other students who were upset that we don't have beer sales yet, which is a joke, how we couldn't figure that out before the season started. But no, he and Stevie were disappointed in our level of play.
Okay. Well,
Fair
that's
enough.
different than being banned from the stadium, I think.
Yeah, he wasn't banned from the stadium.
Oh, I thought I read it. He was banned from the
you
stadium.
guys,
I think
Jesus.
it's okay to be. I think it's okay to be upset how they played. I disagree with what. I mean, Jim wrote the counter art. I mean, my God, why don't you and Leaf just write the Gus columns together at Cougs Fan? I'm like, Jesus. I mean, I disagree with what Ryan said, and I side more with Jim. I don't think it makes you a bad fan to say you were disappointed on how they played.
We all
I think
were.
it makes you I think it makes you a fan, and so I take a little issue when I have people who sit there and point their fingers like, if you don't 100% fully support everything that's going on over there and put on the crimson colored glasses and don't acknowledge that they didn't play well, that you're somehow a bad fan. Do you know who the first person who called their performance embarrassing was?
Jimmy
I heard
Rogers.
you talk about it, Puck. It was Jimmy Rogers.
The head
Yeah.
coach
Yeah,
of
Jimmy
the
Rogers
team
said that.
looked at the stats and goes, this was embarrassing. So that's the head coach, Ryan Leaf, who called it embarrassing.
You know what was embarrassing, Puck? They
So
ran out of
it's-
hot dogs in the second quarter. That's embarrassing. Sorry.
And here's the thing, too. Anyone that's
Really?
been to Martin Stadium, and by the way, it's time. I mean, listen, Jim wants it called Martin Stadium because Geisa Field. I don't want to call it Martin Stadium ever again because of that association with Washington.
Who's
It
the
should be
former
Gleason
Husky?
Field.
Yeah.
It should be Gleason Field. We should get to that at some point during the podcast. It should be renamed after Steve Gleason, who, by the way, I'm reading his book right now. Pick it up. It's
That's
just,
awesome. Great
you
book.
want to read the book and then go and say to yourself, well, I haven't done anything in my life, because this guy
He's
is just
unbelievable.
unbelievable what he has done in his life. Anyways, those hot dogs there, best hot dogs ever.
That's why they
There's
ran
not a
out in the
better
second quarter. Everybody
not a
wanted
better
a hot
hot
dog.
dog.
There's a better dog at Costco. Come on.
No, I'm telling you, not a better dog than
Well,
that
they have a
one at
Costco in
Martin
Pullman.
Stadium.
Maybe they can buy a few of them, and so they can have them into the third quarter. How about that?
All right, so Jim, how do we feel about the Aztecs of San Diego State?
Well, they're picked 8th in the Mountain West.
Okay.
And so we're 1.5 point favorites. I'm not going to lay the. I don't think I'm
You're
betting
going
with
under.
both hands
We're
on the
going
Cougs.
We're going under. Take the
Yeah,
under.
I have no idea. No idea what to make of this game.
It's hard.
I'm with Paul, thinking we're going to see a completely different Cougar team.
Sure.
But I'm also thinking that possibly we won't. So
Paul,
I don't know. I didn't see anything that was all that encouraging to make me believe that things are going to be that much different 7 days later. But we'll see.
Teams can always improve at week 1 to week 2. Paul, what do you want to see specifically?
I want to see, obviously, an improved running game, but I think they're going to be. San Diego State has had a problem stopping quarterbacks that can run. Remember New Mexico, that QB? He ran for over 200 yards against them last year.
Yeah, he was a
They've
stud.
traditionally had a really hard time against a dual threat quarterback. So, could you see Duggar play? Potentially, or Rogers maybe run a little bit RPO stuff, some things along those lines. And then when they give up an RPO, when they give up a running quarterback, then that opens up the passing lane. So they've got to be able to run the football on Saturday, whether that's handing the damn ball off and actually blocking somebody up front or using the QB on that deal. They traditionally have not done a good job defending that. But you got a kid named, I think Trey White was named Defensive Player of the Year preseason in the Mountain West. And they also have a guy named Leah Tule, who's a first-team All-Mountain West guy at linebacker. They've got some pretty good front people. They've got a few more people back on defense than they do on offense. They got a transfer from Michigan at quarterback. They got a wide receiver that's really good that caught 6 balls in their win over some goofy team. I think it's
Stony Brook.
Stony Brook, there you go. They were skipping stones and they beat Stony Brook. And so this will be a little bit, it's a lot like, Idaho team was a hell of a lot better than Stony Brook because they're actually ranked and they're a top 10 team at that level.
Okay.
So I need to see them run the ball and I need to see them, compete up front because they're going to have a tougher test against San Diego State's front
Okay,
seven.
I got to ask you one more quick thing, non-football related. Try to be brief, but it's unfortunate I'm asking you to be brief on this one. Jim, I'll start with you because this was right in your wheelhouse. Give me a thought. Give me a minute on George Raveling passing.
Oh God, a minute on George Raveling.
Wow.
Okay, real quick. Like, I was in school when he was our coach, and he was part of the reason that all of us went to every single game on Gannon too. I mean, we were just looking forward to the Cougs playing, and Steve Podakis, Marty Jovacchini, all these guys, Kenny Jones, and it was just so much fun to go to the games, especially seeing our coach and how into it he was. He was the biggest cheerleader ever, a hell of a coach. It's just, I was really saddened to hear about his passing yesterday. And but boy, did he make his mark on Cougar basketball. George Raveling back in the 70s, he was sensational.
Paul?
I was one of the few guys he'd call up when he needed beer. We'd go down to Dismore's and pick beer up and bring it up to Beasley. When he was playing poker, I remember bringing some stuff down there as Bill Cosby and some of the different people that he would play with. Along those lines, he'd take his coat off and, swing it, and the crowd would stand up and go nuts. He still had the original speech from Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream. He was a bodyguard at the time. He was one of a kind. It was one of the all-time greats, and we were blessed to be a part of his life. And if you ever had a chance to come across him, you were a better person for it.
Well said. There it is, another edition of the Old Crimson Podcast. We'll be back next week. Paul, it might just be you and me. Jim has already decided, hey, 2 weeks in, I've got to take a break and can't.
Well, Paul hurt my feelings today.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim.
He's already got to take a break.
Come on,
from
man.
us. So it's just going to be me and you next week.
So
we'll be back next week. We'll talk about the San Diego State game. Yeah.
Okay.
The Old Crimson Podcast. Find it wherever you get your podcast. Of course, part of the Daily Puck Drop as well. New episodes coming out Wednesday on all Puck Sports platforms. All brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Please go visit flatstickpub.com and book large group events. They want you. They need you. NFL parties, college football parties, birthday parties. Go visit flatstickpub.com. We'll see you next week. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Buck. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
There they are. I told you, a lot of yelling and screaming. A long Daily Puck Drop today because Paul Sorensen, fix your internet so we can upload the show on time. By the way, if you missed any of it, it'll be part of the Daily Puck Drop, the Old Crimson Podcast, coming out every Wednesday, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Also, it'll be separate up on YouTube there as well. So part of the full Daily Puck Drop, both on YouTube and your podcast platforms, the full show. But then on YouTube, we separate it as well if you just want to watch that. All right. Those two, get a room, just figure it out. Yelling and screaming at each other. But it wasn't, listen, it wasn't the greatest debuts in the world. Mike Leach's debut wasn't great as well, and we'll see what happens in week 2. I think Jimmy Rogers is – I just love everything about Jimmy Rogers, how he coaches, how he talks to his players. We said it there and everything. So we'll see. I'm sure they're going to have a hell of a improvement here in week 2 against San Diego State. And clearly the competition gets better. San Diego State's going to be better. Washington's going to be better later in the season. Ole Miss, Virginia, they're going to see much better football teams coming up, and we'll see how they respond. All right, we are going to wrap up a very long Daily Puck Drop today. A lot of great guests. Of course, we had Jim Moore. We had Ryan Divish, full Ryan Divish podcast, by the way, available for Puck's Posse members. So go to pucksports.com, sign up and join today if you're not a member yet. Also, Rob Staton from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. He's back for his weekly appearances talking Seahawks football, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. And now every week we've got the Old Crimson Podcast. All right. As we do every single show here on the Daily Punch Up, we wrap up with Hey, What the Puck, which is brought to you by one of our great sponsors, Restoration One of North Seattle. It's your restoration company. Lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services, locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages do affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Okay, quickly and briefly, and this is just a plea. Please, Mariners, don't do this to me and to us this year. Please, please, for the love of baseball gods, don't break our hearts at the end of the season. Don't end up missing it by a game again. Can you please, pretty please, catch the Astros? Please. Can we just have meaningful baseball again in October? When all the world of baseball is on a few teams. Can we be one of those few teams? Please. And I know people say, aren't you used to it? Yes, I don't want to be used to it anymore. This team is too good to miss the playoffs. They're too good not to win the division. Please, don't do this to us. Don't do this to us again, Mariners. Too many years of frustration. Please. Begging you. We'll cut off a pinky. I don't care what it takes. Just no more. That's Hey What the Puck. Again, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Restoration Company. It's going to let you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration service. They are locally owned and operated. Make them a first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. Ask for Trent. He's going to take care of you. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. If you say go Dogs to him, he'd probably get real excited and do something special for you. Couple of housekeeping items. Go to pucksports.com. Sign up for Puck Survivor. Starts tomorrow. Technically, you don't need to get in by tomorrow, but the first game is tomorrow. Grand prize for the Puck Survivor pool, $500 in cash. Second place, a gift card to John Howie Steak. Third place, gift card to Georgetown. And fourth place, a gift card to Flat Stick Pub. So, pucksports.com. Sign up, Puck Survivor. You're just picking the game straight up, not against the spread. Also, pucksports.com, another benefit of being a member of the Pucks Posse. Latest edition of the Sports Pit is out with myself, Steve Sandmeyer, Matt Stretch Johnson. Go check it out. Came out yesterday. As I said, yes, on yesterday's show, both the live show and then during that, a podcast. Those will be coming out monthly. So look for them every Tuesday of each month. We've had to adjust our schedules and the way things have worked out. We're just going to go moving forward with that schedule. So this week's episode is out. Give it a listen. It's great. We lament about the M's. We talk Cougs. We talk Huskies. We talk Seahawks. All of it. Coming up tomorrow, Brad Adams is back. Mike Garofalo is back. And, of course, another edition of KJ Arntz with one Mitch Levy. Big thanks, everybody. Extended one. I'm worn out. I'm a half an hour over. I'm tired. Thanks for watching and listening today. Thank you to all our great sponsors. As always, Limbeck Lumber, Clean Streak, Brotherton Cadillac, New One Angry Beaver, supporting the one Jim Moore. Also, Chalet Bowl, Georgetown Brewery, Flat Stick Pub, and, of course, Restoration One. Today's Daily Punch Up, find it up on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel when you're there. Also, find the Daily Punch Up on your favorite podcast platforms and at pucksports.com. When you're there at pucksports.com, sign up to become a Pucks Posse member. You support all the free shows we do, plus bonus shows that we give you every single week. And be sure to sign up, Puck Survivor, up at pucksports.com. All right, that's it for us. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m., bright and early. That's not really bright and early. Whatever. Until then, as always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!